Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody, and welcome to today's Adjust webinar in partnership with Tapjoy, Rewarded Video Advertising, How to Engage the Mobile Gamer. My name is Kevin Ayud, and I'm part of the marketing team here at Adjust. I'd like to start off by introducing our two presenters of the day. We're happy to welcome Pratik Shah. Pratik is the Senior Director of Ad Products at Tapjoy. Thank you very much for being with us today. And alongside Pratik, we're welcoming Jolie Beretta. Jolie is a Senior Product Specialist here at Adjust. And once again, thank you both for being here. So before we start, let's quickly go over a few housekeeping rules. This webinar is scheduled to last about 30 to 40 minutes. For those of you new to GoToWebinar, you should see a panel on either side of your screen. You can use this panel to ask any question that you might have throughout the presentation, and our speakers will address them at the end of the session. Finally, the recording of the presentation and the slides will be shared with all of you right after this webinar via email. On the agenda today, we'll start off by briefly introducing the two companies. We'll contextualize the topic by providing information on the app ecosystem and mobile advertising in general. Then we'll zoom in on the benefits and the specific impact of the rewarded video advertising model. We'll also go over the evolution of that model before talking about what's to come and what you guys can expect in regards to creative and optimization. Finally, we'll try to sum things up and we'll allow some time for questions. All right, with this said, I will hand this over to Pratik. Pratik, the floor is yours.
Let's talk about the app ecosystem and mobile advertising and where the industry is. So as most of you are familiar with mobile and app ecosystem, that has seen a large growth over the last 6 to 7 years. And this is not stopping. The next 5 years, we are expecting to see a significant growth in the number of app downloads as well as usage. About 56% growth expected in the number of app downloads itself. Now, the interesting part is that within apps and within mobile, we are seeing gaming as the largest growth opportunity in mobile. And this is backed up by some of the research that we did start of the year with our modern mobile gamer research. And a few insights that we derived from that were gaming is the #1 category in mobile, with about 55 minutes spent per day on it, but for every user. And this exceeds the amount of time people are spending on social. And that's huge. 70% of mobile users actually play mobile games, and this is going to grow to 81%. So this is, again, really important because when we think of mobile gamers, it's not your 18 to 24 age group. In fact, as you can see, it's the smallest pie. The largest percentage of users are actually between 25 and 54 years of age. And in fact, 55 plus is pretty significant as well. So all in, everyone's playing mobile games, right? And if that's where people are spending a lot of time, this becomes a really, really important avenue for advertisers to consider their budgets in. Now, mobile games is very different from the environments that you see in social or in news or other publishers. Mobile games have essentially become experts in this model called as freemium model. And the innovation on the model is really about allowing a user to enjoy free content without an upfront paywall or an upfront ask for, give me $1 to download this game. And the idea is that give the content free to the user, allow the user to understand and enjoy the game, and then let them upgrade or buy certain things down when they really understand and enjoy the game in the first place. This kind of content mechanism has taken off in gaming, and we're seeing now this expand far beyond gaming as well. But this requires a very specific set of advertising, and rather it really enables a very different kind of advertising, what we call as rewarded advertising. And the concept of rewarded advertising is really simple. Right? A user can either choose to pay for specific content or specific coins in a game or specific gems in a game, or they can choose to engage with an ad. And this choice enables what we believe is very high quality advertising and very high quality engagement for everyone, the users, the publishers, as well as the advertisers. And this has been backed up by research. In fact, a follow-up report, on modern mobile gaming in June this year confirmed this. Right? Gaming users prefer rewarded advertising far more than any other kind of advertising in their games. And they do this because it's a far superior user experience as well as a better value exchange model for them. So ultimately, what we're seeing is that while mobile advertising is seeing a surge of growth, rewarded advertising is a very critical part of this advertising. And we believe this is the best model that will apply to gaming as well as extend far beyond gaming. So let's talk a little bit about the history of rewarded advertising and understand where rewarded advertising has been and where it's going. So rewarded advertising started pretty much the time when app ecosystem started and when gaming itself began in mobile. The pioneer of rewarded advertising, again, Tapjoy, as many of you guys know, we started the entire concept with a specific ad unit called as OfferWall. And this ad unit was extremely successful in a variety of ways. Right? It helped publishers and game publishers really earn a lot of money and give their users value for their freemium content. It also helped the advertisers, where in the early days in the mobile ecosystem, getting your app to a certain rank in the App Store was critical. And this was enabled by our ad format in OfferWall. We've partnered and seen a lot of companies build on the strength of OfferWall to actually be able to build viable businesses. Now, while that's been the pioneer in rewarded advertising, and really that's where it all started, where rewarded advertising has come today is evolved from sort of an offer-wall-centric advertising to what we are seeing now as video. Right? Of course, video has been become popular with a variety of reasons around internet speeds, around Facebook and Snapchat popularizing video. And we're seeing effects of that in rewarded advertising as well. Rewarded video is a very engaging and rich experience where an advertiser can reward a user to engage with a video and then allow the user to take a post-engagement action which is not rewarded. So that gives an interesting balance of all the benefits of rewarded, where a user's leaning in, getting rewarded for engaging with a brand, and yet taking the action, and whatever that action could be. It could be, taking a ride on Lyft or Uber, or it could be going and booking tickets. And that is completely non-rewarded. So you get very high intent from users, combined with very high engagement with the video itself. So that's where all of the innovation in rewarded model is happening today. Let's talk about the future and where we believe this is going. So we've all heard about virtual reality and augmented reality. In fact, pretty soon people are going to try and predict this is a year of virtual reality and this is a year of augmented reality. We think it's a few years away, but while it comes and while companies like Apple, Google start innovating and bringing these devices really to the users, what's clear is that the model that would really succeed is already established as rewarded video and interactive video. We see this model extending very easily to virtual reality as well as augmented reality. And hence, this becomes the de facto advertising models, not just on mobile, but for future devices over the next 5 to 10 years. So all in, rewarded video is really a great model that the industry and Tapjoy has perfected. And we'll talk a lot more about the benefits on the next few slides. So let's talk about the benefits of rewarded video advertising. We spoke about how users really want it and gamers have told us that they really want it. Some of the things that we see are really good about rewarded advertising and rewarded video advertising are that firstly, for the publisher and the user, it's an opt-in experience. So the user experience is far superior. You all remember the time on YouTube when you tried to skip that particular ad or an intrusive banner coming up when you're watching reading your favorite news article. That does not happen in rewarded video, right? So it's a far better user experience. And secondly, we've seen increased retention, revenue, and in-app purchase for the publishers. So it's a win-win for both the users and publishers. We have some data to back this up. In fact, Tapjoy's maximum impact report, which came out last month, has proved exactly this. Rewarded video ads are actually helping the publishers increase their app engagement. So users are increasing their time. In fact, user sessions increased by 34% after engaging with a rewarded video ad. Secondly, on retention, we're seeing users stay longer in apps after they engage with rewarded ads. In our research, we saw 30-day retentions increase 3 to 5 times. And finally, in-app conversions. Users who engage with rewarded ads are actually 4.5 times more likely to make an in-app purchase. Now, this is unheard of, right? So if you think back on advertising and publishers, usually publishers had to balance this user experience and try to make sure that ads don't disrupt their users. Here, what we're seeing is rewarded video ads are actually good for the publishers. They're good for the users and really good for the publishers. Let's talk about the benefits to the advertisers. We're seeing rewarded video ads beneficial for advertisers in a variety of ways. Because the model itself is opt-in, where the user's choosing to engage with an ad, it's a brand safe environment. And what I mean by that is we see very high viewability and completion rates. And this again is extremely novel in the industry and extremely crucial for brand advertisers. Here's some data to back it up. 98% of our rewarded video ads are actually verified human and viewable. We see 4% click-through rates. We see about 85% video completion rates. Again, mind you, the industry averages are far lower. Our advertisers are happy when they've seen anything above 10, 15, 20% for video completion rates. And lastly, audible and fully on screen on completion, 2 times as the industry standard. So again, amazing environment for advertisers, amazing environments for users and publishers. So let's talk a bit about Current innovations. So we talked about the history of rewarded advertising. We spoke about why it's really good. And we concluded that rewarded video advertising is really where a lot of innovation is happening in the industry today. The first part where innovation is really happening in rewarded video is in creative. And we're doing a lot of this, and we're leading the charge in a lot of these at Tapjoy. We believe that videos aren't simply sit back and watch a video. We believe that as we add more interactivity in the video, as well as end cards, right? So things that come after a video completes and where you can engage a user, the more interactive we make it for a user, the more engaged the users are. And we have a variety of products coming around there in interactive video. Playables. Playables is another concept which takes this interaction aspect and applies it very specifically on rewarded video model. The idea being that if the user is allowed to engage with the content of the ad itself, and if the ad is a game, the user would literally play a mini game for 30 seconds. If the ad is a brand ad, say for example Hulu, the user would actually interact in a mini mock game, if it were, again, to be able to understand the product itself. And this, again, allows for significant improvements in all the metrics that we've talked about, as well as user delight. And finally, personalization. There's a lot of innovation in the industry, and specifically at Tapjoy, where personalized advertising, advertising that is really based and tailor-made for the user who's watching it, is key. With this, I'm going to hand it over to Julie.
Hi, everyone. I know that you haven't heard from me too much so far, but moving forward, I'll be speaking about how Adjust can complement your advertising efforts. So Pratik has done an awesome job of giving us a really solid understanding of what rewarded advertising is and how it's come to be. Of course, that's only half the battle, because once you have your campaign up and running, it's time to evaluate each channel and measure performance across publishers and within your entire advertising landscape. So, of course, Adjust is designed to help you quickly identify your most influential creatives and also weed out some of the material that isn't working as well for you. One of the ways that we do this is with our 3 sublevels of attribution data. These sublevels are details unique to your user's engagement that you can leverage throughout the lifetime of your campaign. All Adjust parameters are fully customizable. This means that you can structure your tracker URLs to your preference and set creative wherever it makes sense for your analysis. No matter where you place creative, though, we always advise the creative level to really outline the type of creative you're running. So some things that you may want to consider, but are definitely not limited to, include video run length, content language, orientation, so if your ad's portrait or landscape, the focus of your content. So if you're executing on some of the findings from some of these Tapjoy reports, maybe you want to see how that hilarious copy is doing. And of course, there's always the age profile and demographic of your users as well. Once Adjust begins reporting traffic from your campaigns, you can easily assess creative performance within our dashboard. Here you can separate your creatives and evaluate performance across all demographics, regions, and even by video length. You can also analyze conversion metrics across engagement types, so end card clicks versus ad impressions. And then from there, you can even use our line graph visualizer to isolate specific creative types and review KPI numbers by their daily performance. I think that most marketers would agree that it's these minute details that provide invaluable insight into managing an effective mobile ad campaign and turning those ad engagements into actual conversion milestones. So I just spoke to this idea of assessing your users from their engagement conditions. And the best way to do this in Adjust is with cohorts. So as most of you know, cohorts are groups of users that have installed within a specific time frame. And what's great about cohorts and Adjust is that they're a really effective way to assess marketing initiatives and on a very granular level. Since you have users that have installed at a similar time as initiated by the same creative, even from the same publisher, you're able to make these apples-to-apple comparisons about user behavior. And while it might be that publisher A has a higher conversion rate from engagement to install, you might notice publisher B that has lower conversion but a higher percentage of in-app purchases. So when you're looking at this kind of data, you can draw a couple of conclusions. One, your creative is performing well, right? You're seeing users react and convert from your ad. But two, that your traffic from publisher B is actually more valuable. And so from there, you may work with your network to increase volume on publisher B. And then once you have these types of insights, you can actually extract these users by their ad IDs or their push notification token within the Adjust Audience Builder. And from there, you can choose to re-engage users that have yet to make a purchase or users that you'd even like to see purchase again. I think that the more you use Adjust, the more apparent it becomes that we're really working towards building a platform that doesn't just deliver valuable data, but also empowers you to evaluate your campaigns. And you do this by delivering ads that are targeted with the type of calculated specificity that's only been made possible with mobile ad tracking. From here, I'm going to pass it back over to Pratik so that we can talk more specifically about how our platforms are collectively innovating for your optimization needs.
Thanks, Julie. And that was a perfect description of how Tapjoy and Adjust are partnering on creative, really bringing on all sort of innovations on creative and then being able to measure them. We see the same partnership going in optimization as well. So our advertisers are really now moving beyond asking for clicks or even installs. What really works for advertisers are valuable users. Right? And as performance advertising becomes more and more mainstream, and as brands start focusing and honing in on performance as well, it's interesting that the optimizations that can come through are things like, hey, let's get a user who has made a purchase. Or secondly, we value users who complete a free trial. We get a lot of our advertisers coming to us and saying, please get us quality users who will subscribe for our service, and we will pay $25 for that user. Because again, that is a qualified lead. Right? Levels in a game. This is a fairly frequent use case as well, where as users go deeper in games, the more valuable they are for advertisers. And we have a variety of products which help the advertisers optimize for getting users who complete, say, level 5. And lastly, with creating an account. So all in, it's an interesting trend where advertisers, both brands and games, are starting to optimize on their downstream funnel. And as they optimize on their downstream funnel, Tapjoy is innovating on products as well as in data science to be able to get quality users at scale who perform all of these actions for our advertisers. Of course, none of this is possible again without tight measurement and a great feedback loop. This is where Tapjoy and Adjust partner on the feedback loop, especially in optimization.
Right, and so if you're already in Adjust client tracking with Tapjoy, then you're probably familiar with our in-dashboard postback module. But for anyone that hasn't worked with us before, I do want to mention that this is our seamless postback integration. And once you activate the module with your app ID, we'll automatically send Tapjoy all of your Adjust track traffic, so you can better optimize on your entire user set rather than just the traffic attributed to Tapjoy. From there, they can even build lookalike audiences for future campaigns. We're also able to post back event data. So if you're working with an in-app event-based pricing model, then we can automatically forward that event data to Tapjoy as well. In addition to this, we've released some other product tools and features that will enhance your ability to better optimize your budget. One of these happens to be the Fraud Prevention Suite. And just a little context, if you're not already familiar with this tool, the Fraud Prevention Suite consists of several mechanisms that improve the integrity of your data so that you can effectively allocate your ad spend and run campaigns with legitimate publishers and real-life users, which is always a good thing. Most recently, we launched the Adjust Audience Builder, and this gives you exclusive access to your attributed users and the ability to create lists based on specific criteria like the time of install, the events they've triggered, and the total amount of money they've spent. What's great about this is that not only do you compile these lists based on your own criteria, but you kind of increase your privacy since you can submit these lists to your network partners without disclosing any of the user details. If you'd like any additional information about these features, feel free to shoot us a question or send us an email at support@adjust.com, and we can follow up that way too. So in conclusion, we just got a few more bullet points for you guys today. As far as Adjust and the evolution of measurement in mobile, as we've been talking about, mobile's moved really fast and Adjust is keeping up with it right along the way. By now, everybody knows that we're an attribution provider with sound technology and a strict privacy compliancy, but we've also made great strides in developing an extremely comprehensive mobile measurement tool. Regarding attribution, not only can you measure install attribution based on engagement type, so your clicks and your installs, but you can also customize the amount of time that engagements are eligible for attribution. And this can be done all the way down to that third sublevel of data, which is the ad group level, which is normally where we see publisher information. You also have the ability to deactivate fingerprinting attribution. So this ensures that you are only attributing users via device ID matching. Beyond attribution, we support all in-app event tracking. And as discussed earlier, tying in-app event activity to the source of install can be critical for deciding how you engage with your new or your existing users. And then if you have even more aggregated event types, takes a little bit more processing, then we support server-side event tracking as well. Finally, when we're looking to expand the scope of our in-app revenue tracking, you can get a better understanding of the total revenue generated from your app, and that would be not just your in-app purchases, but as well as any of the ads that you publish. And this is actually a topic that we hope to cover with Tapjoy in the future, so stay tuned for that.
Thank you, Julie. And on Tapjoy's side, we continue to innovate on improving mobile monetization and marketing products for both our publishers as well as advertisers. We have a variety of innovative product creative suites already in terms of interactive end cards and a variety of new things coming up of the order of playables, vertical video, and a few more things. On the optimization side, we spoke about how improving the downstream funnel and getting advertisers valuable users is where a lot of our innovation on data science is where we are focused on. And that continues to be a great offering for our advertisers. And lastly, on programmatic. Programmatic, we have heard a lot of our brand advertisers saying that they wanted to work with us purely on programmatic. And we've opened that channel up last year, where we allow any brand advertiser who comes through either an agency or directly through a DSP to be able to advertise on Tapjoy's rewarded video and see all the benefits that we've been talking about. High completion rates, high viewability rates. So all in, at Tapjoy, we are really excited about all the innovation that's coming up, both for our brand advertisers, our performance advertisers, and all the innovation and revenue that's coming for our rewarded video publishers. With that, I'll hand it back to Kevin on the Q&A session.
All right, thank you both for these insights. I hope this was really helpful for all our attendees today. And it is now time to switch over to our Q&A session. Once again, feel free to ask any question you might have in the dedicated panel, and we'll try to go over them as we go. We have a bunch of questions already asked, so thank you guys for those. And I'm going to start off with this first one. Particularly, does rewarded video work for non-game publishers?
And I can take that. So rewarded video essentially started for gaming, and as you can see, it really applies very well for the freemium model. But the way we see it is now expanding beyond gaming. You can easily see it expand to publishers who have any kind of content, right? So if you think about video content providers like Netflix or Disney, it really applies there, where a user could choose to engage with an ad to watch the next 30 minutes of content. Similarly, it can apply to publishers on the newspaper side. Right? So you can imagine a scenario where on the Wall Street Journal, you could either have a paywall and say you can only read 10 articles a month, or you can say read the 11th article by engaging with an ad. So we're seeing that model expand far beyond gaming. The innovation certainly comes from gaming and then expands outside.
Okay, thank you, Pratik. Follow-up question: how is the quality of user acquisition on rewarded video? I know you talked a little bit about this, but could you expand a bit more?
Absolutely. So in terms of quality, this is sort of probably the best aspect of rewarded video advertising. And as I was explaining before, the fundamental innovation of rewarded advertising is the fact that a user is rewarded for engaging with a video. However, the action after the user completes the video in terms of installing an app is non-rewarded. That leads to very high quality. In fact, we have a lot of research where we've seen the highest quality of users acquired coming purely from rewarded video.
Awesome. There was a question about a statistic you mentioned on the verified human and viewable statistic. Can you elaborate on the benchmarks that were used to validate this? This question from Emily.
Oh, absolutely. So in terms of the benchmarks that we used, we actually used Moat for verifying that particular metric. And Moat is our provider which helps us with verifying what the viewability rates are across our supply and allow us to compare that to industry benchmarks. That's where we got our insights on 98% viewability as well as 2 times human viewable than everyone else in the ecosystem.
Thank you. A question for both of you about fraud in the mobile space. So regarding mobile ad fraud, who do you think should be responsible for weeding out legitimate user data? Should it be the networks or the attribution partners?
I think that at Adjust, we believe it's the responsibility of everybody in the ecosystem. So, specifically attribution and networks should definitely be working together to combat, publishers that really aren't serving anyone. It doesn't help, Adjust clients to know that the users from these publishers are fake, and it doesn't help the networks to have publishers that are delivering, false promises. So I think that as far as Adjust is concerned, we're going to do our part, and we're encouraging everybody else to do the same.
And I second with Julie here. We do think at Tapjoy we take fraud extremely seriously. And in fact, it's really good for both our publishers and advertisers that the fraud is minimized. We invest a lot in our engineering and data science to ensure that we weed out fraud as soon as possible. as well as partner with attribution vendors such as Adjust to try and detect fraud even before it happens. So, but I agree with Julie in terms of absolutely responsibility of both the networks as well as the attribution partners.
Thank you both for this. How can rewarded video ads always be ensured to be shown in a brand-safe environment? Couldn't any content owner decide to feature rewarded ads on their inventory?
So that's a great question. I can take that, Kevin. So the way rewarded video advertising is integrated with a publisher is it's a very tight integration where Tapjoy works very closely with the publishers. We recommend them specific places in which they put their ads. Our developer relationship team works hand in hand to ensure that the integration is as perfect as it needs to be. With that kind of setup, as well as data that we then collect, it becomes really clear for us that the rewarded advertising is extremely brand safe. We also partner with third-party vendors such as Moat, as well as Adjust, to verify that those claims, right? Where we internally track these metrics. Again, because it's really good for Tapjoy, really good for our advertisers and publishers, it's paramount for us to ensure that rewarded video advertising environments are extremely brand safe.
Thank you, Pratik. Coming back to statistics for a second, Mark is asking if you talked a little bit about video completion rates. Do you have any statistics based on ad length?
Absolutely. So I think from rewarded video advertising, the standard in the industry is around 30 seconds. Right? But again, because this is an opt-in environment where the user is getting a reward to engage with an ad, we've seen advertisers vary their lengths. Some advertisers increase their lengths to 60 seconds, even 90 seconds. Some advertisers reduce their lengths to 10 seconds, 15 seconds. We, in fact, work with a lot of our advertisers to recommend the best length based on statistical A/B testing and ultimately what videos and what video lengths perform best for our advertisers.
Thank you. Other question, would you say it is common for a publisher to accept running rewarded video on a CPI basis rather than CPV?
Great question again, Kevin. So I think for a publisher, the way we view it at Tapjoy is ultimately the publisher cares about eCPMs, which is the amount of revenue that the publisher earns for about 1,000 impressions. Right? So the publishers, as a supply provider, really don't care whether the advertiser pays out on a CPV or CPI basis. For them, the metric really is about eCPM. On the advertiser side, we work on a variety of models with our advertisers. We provide CPI pricing for advertisers who would really like to price on an install. We provide CPV models for advertisers who want to work with us on CPV. Brands especially really love our CPV model. In fact, to take it to the next level, our optimization innovations allow us to model pricing on a cost per quality user. And that could be a user who takes a first ride, or it could be a user who's subscribed. So variety of models or pricing models for the advertiser, it all works out for the publishers.
Thank you. Julie, question for you on this one. Is the Adjust Audience Builder currently available? And furthermore, what product innovations can we expect in the next few months?
Yes, the Audience Builder is available. If you do not have as part of your dashboard, all you have to do is reach out to your sales rep or your account manager, or again, that's support@adjust.com, and we'll hook you up. It is a separate tool outside of the basic package. So definitely pursue adding that on. The future innovations that we're excited for, I think, are related to, in-app revenue tracking, and that's going to come down to not just those in-app purchases, but again, your ad revenue. I think that's something we've prioritized, and you can expect to see from us in the next, 6 to 8 months. And then, of course, we're definitely focused on ad spend tracking, and that's going to be at the user level. We're really committed to this idea. It's a little bit, it's a bit new for the space, but I think kind of like fraud, we see this as the direction that the ecosystem should be going in, and we're happy to pioneer it.
Awesome, thank you. We keep getting some really, really good questions here, so thanks again to all of you for asking them. Are CPMs expected to decline given the magnitude of inventory coming online in mobile games, or are DSPs ready to buy?
That is another great question. The way we see it is that CPMs should actually increase, right? And the reason why I say this is so far, we've seen a lot of innovation on rewarded video from performance advertisers, largely from game advertisers, right? And the CPMs are high because we're able to deliver high quality users. That appetite is not going away. So while we have a very steady base of advertisers, what's coming are actually the brand advertisers, right? And because of all the metrics that we talked about in terms of viewability, completion rates, as well as audible rates, brand advertisers are now coming around this idea that rewarded video advertising is actually a perfect space for them. And we predict that a major shift of dollars from TV as well as desktop would now start flowing into rewarded video. That should only help the CPMs.
Thank you, Pratik. Another pretty specific question coming up. Does the app owner have to mark up the reward that they offer the user compared to the actual payout they are receiving for that single view? In other words, is the reward the user is receiving actually worth more than the payout of the video view?
That is another great question. So the way to think about this question is a rewarded video is actually a payout to the user, right? From a user experience perspective, there is no specific reason to connect that payout to what the publisher would actually receive. So we are seeing examples where publishers are paying out not currencies, but in fact just content unlocks, right? So a simple example would be watch a video to go to the next level, right? Or watch a video to continue the game, or else come back in 15 minutes. So publishers are innovating in terms of the value they give out to the user, comparing that to the value they get in from the rewarded video ad. Ultimately, the ratio of what you pay out versus what you get in from a rewarded ad is absolutely controlled by the publisher. The publisher can choose to set a higher ratio, a more aggressive ratio if they want to try and get more users to engage with rewarded videos, or they could choose to set a more conservative ratio. That's sort of all the innovations that we're seeing in the ecosystem right now.
Awesome, thanks Pratik. I'm unfortunately going to have to cut you guys off here as we're running out of time. Thank you both for these actionable insights. Hopefully, if we did not get to your question, we will make sure to reach out after this webinar. Once again, I'd like to thank our co-presenters of the day, Pratik and Jolie, for their hard work and time, and a big thank you to all of the attendees today. We hope you enjoyed this as much as we did, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.